Madam President, thank you, as well as colleagues. Mr. Scott Budnick, another governor's appointment member of the California Community Colleges Board of Governors. He also was heard on February 4th and passed on a 5-0 vote, no opposition. Mr. Budnick is the founder and executive director of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, a group dedicated to reducing incarceration and supporting those who have been incarcerated, particularly young people in our state. They do this by providing guidance as well as positive support and advocacy, which is critical to keeping newly released individuals free from bad influence. He has worked very closely with Newt Gingrich, as well as Grover Norquist, as well as Mr. Wayne Hughes, who was a major supporter of Proposition 47. Our community college system plays a critical role in reducing recidivism in our state. Inmates who participate in higher education while incarcerated increase their odds of obtaining employment upon release. Currently, there are 8,000 inmate students in California's community college system that are being taught by community college professors at our correctional facilities. By expanding the partnerships between the community colleges and prisons across the state and connecting released inmates with their local community colleges, lives are being transformed and communities are being positively impacted. Therefore, taxpayer dollars are not being reinvested because of the recidivism rate. Now, obviously, this is positive for our state economy. Mr. Budnick's experience and passion for serving this unique population goes hand in hand with the community college's mission of advancing California's economic growth and global competitiveness through education, training, and services. Madam President, as well as colleagues, this appointment was passed on a 5-0 vote, bipartisan, with no opposition. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator De Leon. Debate or discussion? Senator Nielsen.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I rise to urge a no vote, and I urge it on behalf of crime victims of California. One of the pioneering leaders of the crime victims movement in this state, crime victims are very concerned about this particular appointee's attitude towards criminals, particularly juvenile offenders. It seems to be an attitude that anyone that gets incarcerated has been there as a product of unjust conviction or society's damage that's been done to them. Little heed to the consequences, the victims of the crimes that they've committed. And he has advocated for individuals who've done very horrendous crimes. So as you consider this vote, understand that crime victims are very concerned. Does this individual have a direct influence on the youth of our community colleges, and not just the youth, there are many, many adults there too? Well, yes, it's a position of esteem and respect. His views are very loudly voiced and broadly heard. And it sends a message to crime victims that we, the legislature, are not sensitive to them. He has supported many bills here that have trampled on victims' rights, have rolled back the gains made in the crime victims movement, dating clear back to the 1970s. Victims truly feel aggrieved now, just about as much so from its own legislature and individuals like this particular appointee. I urge a no vote.
Thank you, Senator Nielsen. Senator Hall. Pass. Right. Senator Leno.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to support this appointment as one who has worked for years in criminal justice reform, and there are certainly enough ways to approach criminal justice reform. But Mr. Budnick is a rare individual. He's left his career at the top of his game as a feature-length film producer to devote his full-time attention to improving the lives of young people who came into the world with the short end of the stick. He's creative, he's thoughtful, he's impassioned, and he produces results. This is a respectful vote for crime victims. And I just double-checked, there are no letters of opposition to this appointment. And why is this good for crime victims? It's good for all of us. Mr. Budnick's work is good for all of us because as he works with young people, otherwise known as at-risk individuals, helping them to see alternatives they have in their lives for their own better success, but that means fewer crimes are committed and we have safer communities. He works in alignment with a group called Right on Crime, and Pro Tem made reference to Grover Norquist and others, conservative thought leaders who want us to revisit all the money we're throwing at the criminal justice system to make sure we're getting a return on our dollar. And those folks have similar ideas as to how we can better reform our criminal justice system, the goal always being to lower crime rates and keep our communities safer. This is an important vote and a worthy vote. I ask for it.
Thank you, Senator Leno. Any further debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Senator De Leon, you may close.
Thank you, Madam President. And I'm very respectful. All of us are very respectful of the diverse opinions, especially from the fine gentleman from Tehama County in Chico and elsewhere. He brings a perspective that is important in this debate. The one thing that I think that's unique with regards to this specific appointment is how, in the political spectrum, how folks on the left and the right are actually meeting together in the center to deal with the vexing issue of recidivism. When you have individuals such as Newt Gingrich, who believes that those who have been incarcerated should get an education to help their employment prospects and therefore not be dependent on taxpayer dollars, or just as importantly, not re-victimize someone on the streets and go back into the system and again be another victim of recidivism. In Grover Norquist and in California's own Wayne Hughes, who believes in this. This is one of the unique opportunities, one of the few common places where left and right are actually coming together on this very important issue. I believe that he brings a perspective that can be very helpful for California as we deal with the issue of realignments and other issues dealing with dysfunctions of families and getting folks off their feet again so they can become productive, contributing members to society. With that, Madam President, as well as colleagues, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator De Leon. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen? Aye. Anderson? No. Bates? Bell? Aye. Berryhill? No. Block? Aye. Cannella? Aye. De Leon? Aye. Fuller? Aye. Gaines? Galgiani? Aye. Hall? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Hernandez? Aye. Hertzberg? Aye. Hill? Aye. Hueso? Aye. Huff? Aye. Jackson? Aye. Lada? Aye. Leno? Aye. Leyva? Aye. Liu? Aye. McGuire? Aye. Mendoza? Aye. Mitchell? Aye. Monning? Aye. Morrell? No. Wynn? Aye. Nilsson? No. Pan? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Roth? Aye. Stone? No. Vidak? No. Wachowski? Aye. Wolk? Wolk, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Bates? Gaines?
Ayes 29, no 6. That appointment is confirmed. Senator De Leon, do you wish to take up governor's appointments, file item 1?
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, this will be our last group of appointments before this Senate floor. We have 3, Mr. Arnoldo Avalos, Mr. Tom Epstein, as well as Nancy Sumner. Mr. Avalos is the founder and CEO of the Avalos Foundation, which provides scholarships to low-income high school students from the upper Sacramento Valley who are attending the University of California. Mr. Epstein is currently the Vice President of Public Affairs at Blue Shield of California, and Ms. Sumner is a retired colonel and currently works as a disaster coordinator and registered nurse, an RN, for Glendale Memorial Hospital and Health Center. Each of these appointees brings a unique perspective to take on, again, the various issues affecting the system's very diverse community college population. These individuals were also heard February 4th passed on a bipartisan vote. These individuals are a reflection of California politically as well as ethnic-wise. It passed on a 5-0 vote. Madam President, as well as colleagues, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator De Leon. Any debate or discussion on these appointments? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. I. Bates. I. Bell. I. Berryhill. I. Block. I. Canella. I. De Leon. I. Fuller. I. Gaines. I. Galgiani. I. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Hueso. I. Huff. I. Jackson. I. Lara. I. Leno. I. Leyva. I. Liu. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morrell. I. Wynn. I. Nielsen. I. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Stone. I. Vidak. I. Wachowski. I. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Liu. Aye.
Ayes 37, no 0. Those appointments are confirmed. Returning to motions and resolutions, this is the time to address the adjourn in memory request that was made earlier. Senator Bloxer, for what purpose? Without objection.
I would like to introduce to my colleagues my district office staff who woke up at 4 o'clock this morning to catch a 6 a.m. flight out of San Diego. So if they look kind of tired, please forgive them. Welcome to Sacramento, folks.
Welcome to Senator Block's staff. And Senator Lara at Senator De Leon's desk in 1 moment after the requisite photograph. All right. Senator Lara.
Thank you, Madam President. Today, I'm pleased to recognize an astounding athlete from my district. As a member of the Long Beach Poly High School football team, this young man has brought great honor and distinction to himself, his family, and the 33rd Senate District. He is the #1 high school cornerback in the country and an All-American defensive player. I'm proud to introduce Iman Biggie Marshall of Long Beach, California. In his tenure at Long Beach Poly High School, Marshall has managed to lead his team to a CIF championship. For his instincts and physicality, Marshall has been celebrated nationwide, but today I wanted to shed light on something many people may not know. Along with becoming an accomplished football player, Iman's expressed to me that he has ambitions to work in public service. Out of the 40 scholarships he received, he has chose to attend the University of Southern California. A decision which I wholeheartedly support. Fight on. Before I end, I also want to acknowledge Iman's father, Carl Marshall, who is accompanying him today. Carl has been an incredible role model to Iman and is the reason why Iman is the individual he is today. Thank you, both of you, for being my guest today. Senators, let's welcome Iman and his father and wish him the best as he attends the University of Southern California.
Welcome, congratulations, and best of luck. Best of luck, and I know there'll be a lot of folks rooting for you. All right? Thank you so much. Senator Canella. There are probably a lot of unhappy Bruins today, but Senator Cannella?
Today, I rise for an adjourned memory of a good friend of mine, Guillermo Ochoa, who passed away on Monday at the age of 54. Guillermo and I served on the Ceres City Council together. I was actually elected as mayor of Ceres in 2005, and I had the opportunity to appoint my successor, and I chose Guillermo out of a very qualified field of folks. Guillermo was the first Latino councilman in the city of Ceres, which is unfortunate since over half of our population is Latino, and so he was a real, broke a lot of ground with his service to the city of Ceres. He ended up serving on the city council from 2005 until 2011. He was born in Mexico. Guillermo moved to my hometown and his hometown of Ceres in 1971, and he earned his citizenship in 1985. He was a graduate of St. Mary's College with a degree in business administration and economics. Guillermo was a stellar advocate for the community. He was at everything. Regardless of what the event was, he was a great representative for the city of Ceres. As council member, he was most proud of an effort we undertook to build a new community center. We had an old community center that was probably 40 years old, and we came together and worked with the community to build it, and it's a real jewel in our city right now. And we used redevelopment funds too. It was a great accomplishment. Along with his mother and sister, he co-owned Garcia's Market in the small town of Empire, and he and his family spent countless hours there. It was a great store, and he was very proud of the accomplishments of the store. He also served as a bridge between the Latino community and the city of Ceres. There were things that happened in our community, and he was always out there. It was a real bridge builder and a peacemaker, and it was really helpful for some very troubling times that we had. He served as a member on the Latino Community Roundtable and the Hispanic Leadership Council. His focus was on encouraging members of the Latino community and the Sikh communities to get involved in government. Traditionally, these have been very disenfranchised folks in our city, and he helped to really bring them to be part of the solution. Guillermo is survived by his wife, Martha, and his son, Christian, and daughter, Kimberly, and I ask that you adjourn in his memory.
Thank you, Senator Cannella. Our condolences, please, to his family. Senator Allen.
I'd like to ask that we adjourn in memory
Without
for a
objection.
very special person who certainly was someone who celebrated Purim. He's someone from my district that I think all of us know, Leonard Nimoy. He passed away last Friday at his home at the age of 83. And we, of course, all know him for his original indelible portrayal of one of the most famous characters in American television and film history, the one and only Mr. Spock. As this half-Vulcan, half-human first officer of the Starship Enterprise, he was considered by many to embody the conscience of Star Trek itself. So who among us will ever forget the pointy ears, the signature admonition to live long and prosper, or the iconic Vulcan split-finger greeting that Mr. Nimoy himself borrowed from a blessing that he witnessed as a temple raised as a child in his Orthodox synagogue. On top of his signature achievements as an actor, Mr. Nimoy was also an accomplished director, producer, photographer, musician, and writer. He served in the Army, earned a master's degree in Spanish, and also an honorary doctorate from Antioch University. He's survived by his wife, Susan, 3 children, 6 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchild. Shortly before his death, he tweeted to his over 1 million followers that life is like a garden. Perfect moments can be had, but not preserved except in memory. So for the many perfect moments and enduring memories Leonard Nimoy provided, the state of California stands in his debt, and I ask that we adjourn in his memory today.
Thank you, Senator Allen, and I'm sure all of us share in that moment of memorial. Senator Waisop.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Pro Tem and members, I rise to adjourn in the memory of a lifelong resident of Imperial County, Vicenta Garcia, who resided in Calexico. Ms. Garcia was born on April 5th, 1923 in Tecuala, Nayarit. She was a very brave young woman when she came to the U.S. at a very young age during the 1930s. One of the first things she did as a very young person was to provide assistance to farm workers who were working very hard but also very poor. She provided them with meals and water to assist them. She had lots of experiences grown up, and she grew with a very strong awareness for injustice. So she got involved with numerous local community groups and organizations. She volunteered at her church and everything to create a strong presence in her community around the issues that were very important to her. As a lifelong member of Calexico's Club de los Amigos, a citizen group that hosted leadership and social activities for Calexico seniors, she helped advance that group's goal in making life a better experience for seniors who also were very poor, didn't have access to a lot of the basic necessities that people take for granted. She was also a member of Our Lady of Guadalupe's Guardia del Honor group, which through which she led fundraisers to raise scholarships for Calexico's youth. She is survived by her 3 children and multiple grandchildren, and while she had a very long set of community service experience, I think her legacy is better described as the children she left behind and the grandchildren that she left behind, people that are very involved in the community, that are leading in the community, and she definitely served as a matriarch to plant a seed of leadership for the benefit of community improvement in Calexico. So as a fixture of Calexico, she will be dearly missed by all those lives that she touched, and that community is by far a better place because she had the courage to stand up and make a difference. Thank you for allowing me to adjourn in her memory today.
Thank you, Senator Hueso, and please extend our condolences to the Garcia family. Senator Pan.
Thank you, Madam President and members. I rise to adjourn in memory of not only a constituent, but one of the major influencers of California policy in its history, John Mockler. John Mockler, one of the most influential voices on California education policy for more than 40 years, died in his Sacramento home of pancreatic cancer. He was 74. The architect of Proposition 98, the 1988 initiative that set state support for public schools, John Mockler is also executive director of the State Board of Education and Governor Gray Davis's Cabinet Secretary for Education. Principled and generous, Mockler advised hundreds of Democratic and Republican lawmakers on public school financing. Over a career in the Capitol began in 1965 when he joined the staff of Senator Fred Farr as a legislative assistant. A lifelong Democrat who cut his teeth on San Francisco union politics in the early 1960s, Mockler described himself as a liberal, but not a chump. Mockler is best known for creating and drafting Proposition 98, which has been a central feature in state budget negotiations for the past quarter century. This law established a minimum level of state financial support for public schools, at least 40% of general fund spending, and has been effective enough that policymakers routinely try to find ways to circumvent its provisions. His familiarity with the law also made him an invaluable advisor to governors like Davis and Brown, as well as legislative leaders, including former Assembly Speaker Willie Brown, Mockler's one-time boss. During his tenure from 1999 to 2002 as Cabinet Secretary for Education and Executive Director of the Board of Education, which creates state education policy, Mockler helped create new standards, adopt new textbooks, improve teacher professional development, and impose more accountability on public school operations. He referred to his stint as Cabinet Secretary as the reign of John the Brief, but accomplished more in months than his predecessors and successors did in over several years. In the early 1970s, Mockler was part of a dream team of consultants which Brown chaired when what was then the Assembly Ways and Means Committee. Phil Eisenberg, later an Assembly member and now co-chair of the Delta Stewardship Council, was the chief consultant. Steve Thompson, later chief lobbyist at the California Medical Association, handled health issues, and Mockler, of course, helmed education. When Brown became Speaker, he asked Mockler to leave his lobbying practice, take a pay cut, and return to the legislature as Brown's top education advisor. As partial compensation for the pay cut, Brown told Mockler he could choose his job title. The state printer actually refused to create business cards for Mockler that described him as Viceroy. But when he left Brown's staff, his colleagues presented him with a poster-sized business card emblazoned with that title. After leaving the legislature for good, Mockler was routinely asked to counsel newly elected legislators. Always say no first was Mockler's standard advice. So some of us keep that in mind. Tenacious in his support of schools and teachers, Mockler saw education as the great equalizer. Without fail, he was always the conscience of the education community by not letting others forget the disadvantaged, said Dale Shimasaki, a longtime friend to whom Mockler sold his business after he stopped lobbying. Mockler drove fast and lived hard, and he loved to laugh. He even highlighted that trait in his resume. He was frequently irreverent, sometimes irascible. Hypocrisy and stupidity were particular peeves. Now, born in Chicago, Mockler was raised in the Harbison Canyon near San Diego. At 16, he entered the University of California, Santa Barbara, earning a degree in economics in 1963. One of his first forays into politics was executive director of the Youth Against 14 campaign in 1964. Proposition 14 would have made it legal to discriminate against homebuyers on the basis of race. Mockler organized a fundraiser for the campaign, the largest folk concert produced in America at the time, the Hollywood Bowl, in September 23, 1964. He was a lover of folk music for the rest of his life. A world traveler, he golfed in Ireland and Scotland, explored Europe, worked on a kibbutz in Israel, safaried in Africa, and cruised the Caribbean. Although learning the game in his 40s, Mockler was a scratch golfer until sidelined by his illness, logging 3 holes in 1. He was survived by his partner in life, Carol Ferris, 2 children, Robert and Jessica, 5 grandchildren, Willa, Clara, Julita, Sydney, Zachary, and Auden, who says in his resume, quote, are smarter and prettier, unquote, than all other grandchildren. John, you'll truly be missed. Thank you, and I hope we can adjourn his memory. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Pan. On this, Senator Nielsen, are you wishing to speak on Mr. Mockler's passing?
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, when I heard of John's affliction with pancreatic cancer, all alone I prayed for him. And we lost his battle. It struck me as what a great loss for California. John may have been a liberal, but he's a liberal that we conservatives got along quite well with. He was neither a dogmatic nor a firebrand. He was a problem solver. And his testimony probably will never be able to sort out, because he was probably one of the few, and that would be under 10 people, I would argue, that understand the educational code and all of those internecine, complicated provisions related to school finance. I think I'm pretty good at it, but I'll tell you what, John Mockler puts me to shame. And the contribution that he made has been for the good of our students. He didn't do it for wealth, riches, or fame, or plaques. He did it because he believed in it. John's living legacy will be embodied in our education code and in the future education of our children. He will be missed. May he be with the Lord in heaven.
Thank you, Senator Nielsen. Anyone else wish to speak on the passing of Mr. Mockler? Seeing none, Senator Pan, if you would make sure that the condolences of this House are extended to his family. Thank you. Any other adjourn in the memory or under motions and resolutions? Senator Walk, followed by Senator Mitchell.
Purposes of announcement, Madam Chair.
Without objection.
Budget Sub 2 will meet immediately upon adjournment, room 112.
Senator Mitchell.
Also, purposes of announcement,
Without objection.
Budget Sub 3 will meet at 10:30 in room 4203.
Senator Block.
Thank you,
I'm
Madam
sorry,
President.
Senator Block, followed by Senator Roth, and then Senator Hancock. Senator
Thank
Block.
you, Madam President. Budget Sub 1 will meet at 10:30 and 3191.
Thank you very much. Senator Roth.
Madam President, purposes of announcement.
Without objection.
Budget Subcommittee 4 on State Administration and General Government will meet at 10:30 in room 2040.
Thank you very much. Senator Hancock.
Thank you very much, Madam President. for purposes of announcement, Subcommittee number 5 of the budget will meet at 10:30 in room 113.
Room 113. Thank you very much. Any other announcements? Anything further? If there is no other business, Senator De Leon, the desk is clear.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, have a wonderful, productive weekend. Next few days, I know in Los Angeles, Senator Ben Hueso will be having an oversight hearing. With that, one small item. Monday, we will have floor session, not at 2, but at 3 p.m. Monday, 3 p.m.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Senate will be in recess until 3:30, at which time the adjournment motion will be made. Senators, we will reconvene Monday at 3 p.m. Please note, 3 p.m. Monday.